This right here is one of the biggest issues that's correlated with high blood pressure in the US population. One of the main causes of high blood pressure is the excess retention of fluid within the bloodstream, and retention of water is almost directly correlated with the retention of sodium. Essentially, minerals are osmotically active, meaning wherever they go, water will follow. The main extracellular mineral is going to be sodium, and the main intracellular mineral is going to be potassium. High blood pressure isn't necessarily caused by excessive sodium intake because the kidneys do have mechanisms to excrete excess sodium. Therefore, we can say that high blood pressure is not just due to excessive sodium intake, but ineffective sodium excretion. It's very well understood that potassium can actually inhibit the sodium chloride cotransporters that take sodium from the urine and reabsorb it back into the bloodstream. Multiple studies have indicated through multiple mechanisms that potassium can inhibit the reabsorption of sodium from the urine, and due to this diuretic effect, it can decrease blood pressure. If we come back to this study, the problem is that 99.4% of adults are consuming more than the sodium recommended by the American Heart Association, which, albeit, is quite conservative at less than 1,500 milligrams per day, and 90% of adults are consuming more than the 2,300 milligram limit that is recommended to be the tolerable upper intake level. However, less than 2% of adults are consuming adequate amounts of potassium. This was when the potassium RDA used to be 4,700 milligrams per day. The potassium intake was subsequently lowered. However, the only reason for this is because the new potassium RDI no longer takes into account chronic disease risk reduction, and only takes into account what is necessary to achieve dietary adequacy, meaning the RDA of 4,700 milligrams may be more beneficial for those not just looking to be adequate, but for those looking to prevent chronic diseases such as high blood pressure, and the correlation between high blood pressure and renal disease, myocardial infarction, cerebrovascular accidents, and other adverse health effects. Here's my hypothesis as to why humans are eating too much sodium and not enough potassium. These are the foods high in potassium, and these are the foods high in sodium. Because we are eating so much processed food and so much fast food, we are eating far more foods high in sodium and far less foods high in potassium. With that being said, humans also have a specific sodium appetite in which we do not have a potassium appetite. This was likely an evolutionary adaptation because hunter-gatherers were estimated to consume about 768 milligrams of sodium and over 10,000 milligrams of potassium every single day, meaning they were essentially naturally adequate in potassium, but unless they actively pursued sodium, they probably would not be getting enough, because their diets looked a lot less like this, and a lot more like this. And when people are deficient in sodium, we get what is referred to as a salt gluttony, in which we will consume more salt than we physiologically need. Therefore, humans are driven to crave salt, but do not have the same biological appetite for potassium. Additionally, not enough people are eating foods like this, and most of the population are eating foods like this. Therefore, actively pursuing high potassium foods and aiming to consume between the new RDA and the old RDA may be beneficial for long-term health outcomes, and reducing sodium and increasing potassium appears to be especially beneficial for those with high blood pressure, especially those who are considered salt sensitive, in which they see a large increase in blood pressure every time their sodium intake changes.